Okay, I'll introduce myself again. Hi, everybody. I'm Marne Lucas, calling in from New York City. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Can you see my slideshow?
We can.
Okay. So I'm going to show like basically kind of an overview of three main bodies of work. They're pretty different. This first body of work is all pretty much black and white imagery, and I use military grade imaging for photography and for experimental short films. So the image here you see of the Boston Police Department released a few years ago during the Boston bombing. They found a suspect underneath this tarp, and you see this little glowing white figure. That is heat, that's a body that's alive. So anything that's dark is cold or cool, and the heat appears white. So that's an example that you all would have seen on the news of this technology. Oops. So I use it for more experimental films and video installations. Here you can see these figures feeding each other. It's actually a hot potato. This is from a 4-channel film. The trees here in the other image, they glow white because they are retaining all of the energy from the sun on the surface. So they actually glow white, even if the tree seems cool to the touch from what we would feel. These cameras are extremely heat sensitive. And I like the idea of taking very sinister sort of military imaging cameras that are used for surveillance and border patrol to make something really beautiful. And I love this idea that Carl Sagan always talked about how we are made out of star stuff. So I like kind of operating from that context. This is an image here. I'll go back. The man crawling through that's snow, all of that black landscape. And you can see these footprints are heat signatures actually left in the snow from his footprints. And this is what it actually looked like on set. We were up on a mountain in February, and he was crawling naked through the snow for this film installation. I got my start with this technology in kind of a very surreptitious roundabout way. Back in 1995, a friend of mine and I made an explicit art film called The Operation, and we lied to a major military contractor to get a hold of this technology. So once we realized it was actually on the way, we knew we were going to actually have to make this film, and there was really nobody to be in the film, and we had written this whole elaborate script. So in the end, not something I would do ever again, but we appeared in this film, and it's like a sci-fi patient-surgeon scenario, and it's an explicit film. It's very beautiful. Obviously I made this like 25 years ago, but because of this film, it's won a lot of awards. It's traveled all over the world, but it has gotten me sort of blacklisted from being able to get a hold of this technology. So I continue to have to source this technology in very surreptitious ways because all of these companies are aware of this cult film that I made a long time ago. So it has made my process very challenging. I'm just going to show you a little bit from another film I made. It's a 4-channel video installation about life cycles, kind of the human condition, viewed in different kinds of landscapes, and I used modern dancers instead of actors. And we also filmed a birth for this film. So this is a woman who's about 9 months pregnant. That's her belly. Images of the sun. So you can see all of the heat. Her fingertips are cool and dark. Her belly is warm. So it's very literal translations of these ideas about light and energy. You know, the idea that energy can't be created or destroyed. You really see this in the human body. Here's the birth we filmed. If anybody has issues with brief childbirth, look the other way. So these are our two main characters, this primitive man on the left and the birth. I'm not going to show you all of these videos. I'm going to provide you guys with links so you can watch all of this at your own time. But I just wanted you to get an idea of how eerie and surreal this imagery is. It's really quite beautiful. This is our choreographer, Jim McKinn. I love collaboration. I would have to say that almost all of my work is collaborative in some way. So this choreographer who worked in incident energy, we had him do a performance piece, and he's interacting with this block of ice. The ice was made to very specific measurements for his body and height so he could interact with it. And behind him, you see a live infrared video feed. So when he slithers across the ice, it turns parts of his body black. And so this way the audience could see that in the video installation, there are no special effects or tricks. Everything that's happening is happening in real time. All the changes in the body, you can see people's breath, you can see the veins. These are some stills from the film. Because I have such sporadic access, I'm often mining my own footage from the past 20 years to make new projects. These have been printing on porcelain tiles that I made during a Kohler residency. So a lot of work about intimacy, life, birth, death, transformation. Here you can see all the veins in the mother breastfeeding. And I love this idea of like, the baby is getting calories and nutritional energy from the mother, but also love. And I see them both as an energy form. Like the love is going into the child just as much as the breast milk is, and the heat. Here's one of the tiles. And with these, I'm a photographer primarily. And I do get tired of printing on paper and framing photographs. So I'm always looking for new ways to deal with photography. So I started making a lot of ceramic tiles. So it's like a beautiful object instead of just being a photograph. This is a more recent film I made about sort of my process of going through menopause. And I filmed this on Maui, Hawaii. I'll give you guys a link to this. But she's in all these natural landscapes. And for this, I used an infrared hunting rifle scope. So you see the scope marks, but I like the idea of the targeted heat and hormonal transformation that she's going through. It feels pretty intense if you haven't gone through it. So I liked that I couldn't remove the scope marks because she was just always being tracked by this kind of like constraint of going through this hormonal transition. But I wanted to make it about a beautiful transformation into one of a new power and not one of just a negative association with these intense symptoms.
Marne, excuse me, how did you get that face?
Yes. Oh, so
mask-like.
She has a mask on, and this is a glass mannequin head in her hands. And she felt like she was pretty recognizable, and she knew my other films. And so she wanted a mask, which I was totally okay with. I mean, if somebody's going to be rolling around and climbing rocks nude, you know, in like rocky landscapes and is willing to be in my films, like if they have, you know, things they need, I was all for it. And I kind of liked that it made her this otherworldly creature. And she finds this head, it rolls up on the beach. And once she touches it, she starts to go through this change. And so she goes through menopause and becomes this new creature. So I kind of liked what the mask did. I used a lot of masks and props in my work. This is a large grid. This was all filmed on Maui. So you can see like these rock formations that are white. That is black lava. And it is so extremely hot. It's glowing. This down here is a reflection in the sand. So a shadow is technically a heat signature. So we see it as a dark shadow, but an infrared security camera will pick it up as a heat signature. So it's actually quite bright. Here she has a Mylar space blanket as this sort of covering that she kind of comes out of. This piece is going to be in the Brand Library, their upcoming group show. And these are stills from various films. The one here with this Mudra for Unconditional Love is the source point for a new film that's about unconditional love and breath. And then this is a glass skull on a beach with a sculpture that I made. Which brings us to sort of afterbirth and life. This project is a little bit more somber, but incredibly meaningful to me. I am also an end-of-life doula, and I collaborate with artists who are grappling with terminal illness, and I do legacy projects with them. So I started this about 5 or 6 years ago and worked with a core group of artists from the time of their diagnosis until their passing. And, you know, I interview them, I photograph them, I go to their doctor appointments with them and document it. And so there's photography, there's video. There, you know, I make my own sculptures and works about these people. And then I also exhibit their artwork and whatever we make from their legacy project. This gentleman was one of my closest friends from Portland, Oregon, who succumbed to colon cancer. I spent 16 months working with him, collaborating with him, and he knew I wanted to do this project and I couldn't find anyone to get the project started with, and he took it upon himself to be my first collaborator. So we worked together for 16 months until he passed. This is my portrait of him in Iceland and a sculpture I made cast from one of his gloves he's wearing in this photograph. These are some photographs from our trip to Iceland. He married his partner of 12 years and they went on a honeymoon. I drove them in this camper van and I was sort of photography assistant, doula, you know, driver. And during the trip, he became terribly ill and had to be hospitalized. And we didn't know if he was actually going to make it back to the States. He ended up staying there for 3 weeks. He did make it out of there and get to come home, and we were able to finish our project, but it was pretty touch and go. But this is the level to which I committed to this project, was like, I just had to see the entire thing through. This is one of his last photographs he made from that trip, which is such a haunting, beautiful photograph. Those look like beings to me, like figures. And I have a very large print of this in my home from the show, and it's really haunting. We had an exhibition and a book release party right before he passed. So this is him like just 10 days before he passed. Sorry, my phone's ringing. And so he was able to see his book get published, have an exhibition, book signing, get to see all of his friends, and then he passed away, and he was only 47.
Nice.
I know it sounds really intense, but this really is about a celebration of life. Like when I talk about this work, I'm always a little giddy and smiling because I am celebrating these people's lives. And when people are dealing with the dying process, they don't have a lot of personal agency. And so by doing these projects, they get to kind of control what they want to do and not just have it be about their medical treatments. So, you know, they get to really decide like how they want to go, how they want to die, but also what they want to happen to their work, what they want to, you know, show people. So I really see it as like a way of bringing somebody's, you know, mind and body, and it's also very spiritual, bringing all those components together. This one was this is my friend Meryl, who was my art mom, one of her paintings. This is my friend Joe from New York City. He was a painter. He ended up with a brain tumor quite young, but discovered that he was pretty good with scissors. And so he made collages for 2 years, prolific amount of collages with his non-dominant hand with scissors. And he maintained his sense of humor. This is Floral Nixon. This one's called Pandas Are Terrible Drivers. And I used to take the bus up to Boston to work with him and make collages together and just hang out and, you know, kind of talk about how he wanted the rest of his life to go. These are some sculptures I made about this project. I did the residency in cast iron and in pottery at Kohler in Wisconsin. It was pretty challenging in that I went the same month that my first collaborator, Chris Prunkart, passed away. So I went to his funeral and then went straight to this residency for 4 months in the dead of winter in Wisconsin. So it was pretty rugged, sort of like grief camp meets, you know, the Wizard of Oz in a, you know, pottery factory. But I was able to start this body of work about these various friends and family members who've passed away. This is just an installation shot from Bardo Project from the first iteration.
Jesus Christ, she's awesome.
I have a couple of collaborators I started working with in December. This gentleman, Manuel Pasina, is a photographer in Dallas. And so I flew down to meet him. He found me on Facebook and reached out to me. So I decided to go see him. While I was there, the day I took this portrait of him, his grandson, his first grandchild was born. And he'd been very ambivalent about grandchildren. And, you know, he was like, well, I'm going to go anyway. I'm going to die. I'm not going to be part of this kid's life. And the minute he saw that baby, it really changed his, you know, desire to live and also his sort of productivity as an artist. So it was pretty special to be there for this event and be just let into the family. And so, you know, just kind of being a documentarian at this point. I'm also working with Henry Sanchez, who's a bio artist in Houston. Obviously, these projects are complicated by the pandemic and being able to go there and visit. But we're doing as much as we can over the phone and just really trying to like keep the project moving forward. And for a little levity, I have a little side project called Cunning Stunts, and it's sort of a feminist art series. And I love taking the piss out of language that's used against women. This project started with the whole Me Too movement, which I really enjoyed because I have dealt with a lot of that in the art world, and it felt really good to kind of get some of that out. So this is a project I did on Maui. I've met an incredible artist there, Kara Griffin, that I could work with. And so we went on a road trip with this mask, which started out like kind of hilarious and silly, but really she just looks like some creature from a painting. And I love the idea that, like, you know, if women are going to be treated like walking vaginas, well, I'm sort of presenting it as such, but it also looks like this beautiful creature coming out of the sea. Mm-hmm. And I have this conch shell as sort of like a reference to classical paintings, you know, to female genitalia. So these are all kind of, you know, I have a whole feminist artist collective in New York with a bunch of my girlfriends. So these are some of our projects. This was a prank I did at a Michael's craft store. They sell canvas letters, and I went in there and with my camera gear and like jammed the letters into their fake plants and like did this whole photo series. So I have these letters with flowers. I have a set of these, 2 sets of these, one on my wall, one in a suitcase. When I travel, I take them to all kinds of landscapes and urban locations and photograph them. And you know, it's amusing for me, but it's also an exercise. Like, it really forces me to like, okay, what can I do with this, you know, text-based art? But there's also, you know, a bit of prank to it. Here's more masks. The larger photograph, Love Duo, is going to be a billboard in LA as part of Save Art Space for their queer futures. And it opens, I think they're installing on the 24th. What day is that? Next week. So it'll be up in LA for a month.
What will that? No
Yeah,
way.
so I'm excited
That's,
about that. That'll be fun.
whoa.
This next body of work, you may have met Steph. Steph, she's here tonight in the group. I mentioned that I'm very collaborative. I love working with artists, and when I travel, when I'm in New York, when I'm in my hometown in Portland, Oregon, I look up artists and I ask if I can photograph them. So Steph and I have mutual friends, and I asked her if I could do a portrait of her the next time I came to Maui. So all of my work is on location. I'll go through these quite quickly. It's ongoing. I've been doing this since the year 2000. So sometimes it's like, you know, an installation, sometimes it's in the studio, but I try to take people into situations that mimic their work, or the colors or the themes sort of remind me of their work. So sometimes I take them totally out of their studio. I don't know if you guys know any of these people. There's always a bit of humor, a lot of props and art direction and wardrobe. I used to be a wardrobe stylist for film and TV, and I don't paint, but I love classical paintings. And so I think like a painter, like what props would I put in this painting? And there's always a triangle in my photographs. So I try to think as if I were making a painting when I make these. This is Miss Pippa Garner. She's a 78-year-old trans woman in Long Beach, California. And she used to be Philip Garner, who is a well-known California artist and inventor. She's probably one of my favorite humans in the world. She makes these t-shirts almost every day. She iron-on transfers and makes t-shirts as sort of like an exercise to warm up to her projects. These are real tattoos on her. The bra and the D-string and the Monopoly money, that's all a tattoo. She and I do quite a bit of projects together and inspire. It's like a dialogue between us. We're constantly sending projects back and forth.
Fucking A. Oh my God, I'm blown away.
Can I get one of her t-shirts?
Oh, you know, you can't get her t-shirts. You just got to get them from her, because I have so many of her t-shirts. I have one that says support faith-based cage fighting. I have one that says all that clitoris, not gold. Her t-shirts are crazy. I probably have a dozen of them. And when I go to art openings, I try to wear her t-shirts, and they're amazing. And she cuts apart different backgrounds and letters, and you can follow her. I think Redling Fine Art in LA, they show her work, and she's MISC, M-I-S-C for miscellaneous, because she's trans and she has very interesting ideas about what it is to be trans. She became a woman at age 50. And so the last 28 years has been a woman.
So Marne, how did you find her? How did you meet her?
I went into an art fair. I walked into a room in New York at spring break, and I saw this art, and I was kind of like, I was leaving and I was burned out. And I walk in this room and I'm like, wow, this artist is a genius and does not give a fuck about the art world. I mean, she was absolutely a genius. And so I looked at the whole show, and then I said, hey, who's the artist? And they pointed at this like 6'7" woman with white hair. And I walked up to her and I didn't know what to say. I just walked up to her and I said, you're stuck with me. And I told her that I was going to fly to California and photograph her. And she said, can I be naked? And I was like, okay. She is really special. These are in Mongolia, in the Gobi Desert. I did an environmental land art biennial like residency, and there were 20 artists there. So I had a captive audience. We were there for a month living in yurts. So I got to photograph a few of the artists. The gentleman on the left is also from that project. This ice hole is a piece of rubber that I put down on the ice, and I put a fishing line and a washer underneath it so that there'd be tension on the fishing rod. Like I love working out the details of, to me, they're like paintings. So this was on hockey rink, and they gave me 5 minutes to make the portrait because they have teams playing 24 hours a day on these hockey rinks. And I wanted her to be on a working class hockey rink and not a sort of prissy figure skating rink, because she was from Wisconsin, and I wanted it to feel like she was ice fishing in Wisconsin. Oops. So everything I do is on location. I use very like limited lighting setups. I don't have big crews. It's usually just me. I really want people to be comfortable with me. I mean, intimacy is really, really important to me. So that is sort of like, I treat every shoot as though I'm photographing someone nude. I really want people to be comfortable. But this is work I love doing, and any of you I would photograph, and I consider it to be very collaborative. So I always want the artist to kind of pitch in and let me know what they like. And, you know, artists are particular about how they want to be perceived. So it is kind of a squirrely group to work with, you know, in terms
curators. What about curators? Would you photograph a curator?
Yes, in a heartbeat, in a heartbeat. For me, it's really like a challenge. It's like, can I honor this person?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm really after. So, and I mean, I've plenty of my trips, I will look up artists on Instagram or Facebook and reach out to them and ask them if I can photograph them while I'm in town. And I just show up, and I've never met them. And I have to like, they all have to have the same level of integrity, you know, whether I know the person or not. So I'm always making my family, like I'm always bringing artists into my family, which I feel like Kipaipai does the same thing.
I was just going to say that I feel like you have, you know, naturally this organic ohana that has come together through Kipaipai. So might be cool to see you collaborate with, besides with Steph Sidney. I know that you've worked on a project with her, but and now Stephanie, would be good to see you work on maybe a whole series of like the whole Kipaipai family.
I was just thinking about that when I was putting this together. I was like, oh, look at all those artists. I mean, even when I see you guys on Zoom, I'm like, oh, I want to photograph that person.
Lots of traveling.
Yeah. That's it.
Beautiful, Marne. Thank you so much.
I will email you guys. I'll put in the Facebook group like the links to the videos so you can watch them. They're very beautiful, but they're like, you know, 10, 20 minutes long, and I'll let you guys enjoy those.
I'm gonna quickly just read some of the comments and questions in the chat. Stevie Love says, big concepts. Joy Ray, so beautiful, Marne. Gay Summer says, these are beautiful, Marne. Dina says, definitely want links to full films. So cool. Jody Endicott, very compelling. So want to see more, Marne. Stevie Love would love links to the full films. Jeannie Dunn, this is stunning. Stevie Love, wow, just wow. Oh, new creature, love that it's all in black and white. Let's see, Donna says, just hauntingly beautiful, Marne. We hiked together last year at the Merwin Foundation hike for artists.
I remember that.
There you go, another Kipaipai member.
I filmed the palm trees there in infrared. I was sneaking around.
That's awesome. Caroline says, gorgeous and beautiful. Stevie says, end of life doula with an exclamation point. These end of life collaborations are so powerful, from Jane Zabo. Stevie Love again, Jesus. Caroline says, amazing. Stevie Love, they get to control how to die. Jody Endicott, your work allows them to say goodbye in the most personal way. Stevie Love, pretty good with scissors. I'm assuming that's the artist that was using his other hand. What an amazing residency opportunity for you, Marne, from Jane. Stevie again, Marne, you are awesome. Jeannie Dunn, you have been doing amazing life-engaging projects, Marne. Do you know where in LA the billboard is located? So I guess that's for ArtShare.
I think I have it on my Instagram, the corner. It's kind of by all the galleries. Orange Grove Lane and something.
Okay.
It's on my Instagram
We'll figure it out.
with that image.
Caroline says, these are great. Thank you. I love the artist portraits too. So good, from Jane. Joy says, they all look so glamorous. Jeannie Dunn, thank you, Marne. Amazing work. Marcia says, where is this? I'm sorry. Solu and Fontenta.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Swallow, Paul Swallow
There you
and
go.
Hyde Fontenot.
Thank
They
you.
were.
Thanks for me butchering that.
That's okay.
And Anne-Marie Rousseau says, amazing work. Can't wait to see more.
Oh, thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions?
I was chomping at the bit here just to say thank you. In fact, we're looking at this image now of menopause, how heroic you present this process that every woman, God willing, who lives long enough will go through this. And you present it very powerfully. So God love you, Marne. It's
Oh,
beautiful.
thank you.
It's a beautiful
Yeah, I went through it
parenthesis.
at 47 and it reprioritized my life. And I had always worked with intimacy and the body and the female body. And then I got into birth, and then I went through menopause and I was making art about that. Now I'm making art about death. And I thought, you know, I think I'm intellectually so in control of what I'm making, but really I've been making art sort of tied to my hormones the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been very vocal about the menopause part because I do want women to talk about it.
Yeah,
Everybody
and
talk-
I too was 47, and I thought, oh my God, because I had my kids late. Late meaning I had one at 35 and one at 38 and a half. And so, you know, and then all of a sudden I'm going through menopause, and I thought, oh my God, I've got a kid who's in like 7th grade and now I'm going through menopause. How does this work? And, you know, then I noticed that I started saying things to people that, you know, I thought,
Ray?
shut up, stop talking. But you get to that point where you just say, hey, and you say what you have to say. There's just no question. So, you know, I see that in your work. So thank you.
Thank you guys.
Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you so much. And I can't
Can't wait to see
you.
the other
I
folks'
miss
presentation.
you. I can't wait to see
I
you.
miss you guys.
And so now if you will stop sharing your page, we will introduce Anne-Marie Rousseau and Karen Hochman-Brown, and they can share their page.
Got that?
Got
Yep.
it.
All righty. Okay. So as you can see on this, we had this prep for about 2 months ago. I'm glad to be sharing it now.
Hold on a second, Karen. I'm
Sure.
not getting you registering as our speaker for some reason. So let's remind everybody to go ahead and mute themselves. I'm still not getting you coming up.
Okay.
Where are you? Okay, there you are.
Am I where you want me to be?
Yes, thank you.
All right. So, and Anne-Marie, of course, you chime in whenever you want to.
Okay.
All righty. So this is the piece that we did for the show at Loft at Liz's, the show that Andy put together. This is, well, I'll show you the next one. This is the piece that Anne-Marie did that I used to create this. So in this project, Anne-Marie is providing drawings, mixed media drawings, and then I'm spinning them or processing them through my assorted methods.
Let's give everybody a little bit of background about your kind of individual work so that they understand how these two have come together, because I don't know if everyone knows like Anne-Marie's work and your work as individual artists?
So as an individual artist, I'm sort of organizing photographs of beautiful, say I go out and I take pictures of beautiful things and work with them on the computer to bring out patterns and different shapes and forms that delight me, strike my fancy, put them together, shade them so that they're really sumptuous, and have a lot of fun with it. Okay, this is my grandson. He wants to take a bath. I'll have to shove him away. We'll take a bath later. Bye. So that's been my work, mainly photographic in nature. So I had discovered Anne-Marie Rousseau on Facebook at some point in time before we were in Kipaipai together, and immediately thought it would be so fun to spin her artwork. And I got a chance to do it, so that was very exciting.
Yeah, well, my work is it concerns line almost all of the time, and I mean for the line to be a kind of connection, and also the work is about drawing. It's about hand drawing, handmade works on paper. I use colored pencil a lot, and ink and paint sometimes, but it's the touch of the hand on a surface that interests me. And for me, that's always a reflection of the body. And I'm sort of interested in how that works, that, you know, through the fingertips, the wrist, and the arm, I create a line, and that line connects from one place to another. So I thought it was wonderful that Karen and I could do a collaboration, because really it is about connection. And, you know, she took my work and did something radically different with it, and took it from this, you know, personal hand touch, and she threw it in a computer and almost made it like a robot to do something. So I thought that was an interesting dynamic of between our work, that mine is so personal, human, and hers is about the computer in a lot of ways. So you'll see some of the work, the transformations.
So,
I hate to think.
so these are ink and pencil, and tell us what the medium is again, Anne-Marie. The
Color pencil and ink mostly. And then some later on, you'll see some are paint, a little bit of acrylic paint, but mostly inks and colored pencil is what I use.
Okay.
On paper, on rag paper. And this is about 42 inches by 68 inches.
And how big is this one?
That's about the same size, about 42 by 68, yeah.
And that's on 3 pieces of paper, is that?
Yeah, it's a triptych. And you can I want to touch the computer and show you, but I can't.
Right.
Triptychs. And I often work in triptychs, and, you know, putting things together that way. So this is another triptych. And the next one, Sing Violet. This is a triptych too. Very hard to see. I think of we kind of
It would be like right here.
Yeah. You know, so it wouldn't. And there,
Oh, really?
I'm trying to point to you. There's another line.
I have control of the screen.
I know, I have no control. So yeah, there's another line. I can see it, but it might be hard for other people to see where the papers. There's 3 sheets of.
Oh,
paper.
I see. Right here is a little line.
Um,
They're going right up through there.
another one.
But very well put together.
Yeah, and this particular work and the last one are 100 points on a line. They start with 100 points and they go to another 100 points. And sometimes I widen the line or connect them at the beginning and do all different kinds of things. I used to just take one line, connect it to the opposite side 100 times, and you would see each line, and I you know, I got crazy and, you know, expanded them and changed them up. So anyway, this is, okay, so this is what Karen did. And
Yeah, these were when we were working towards the Collaborate and Create show. These were the two pieces that I had worked on. And then we had so much fun, we continued.
yeah, we just decided. So this is a very simple one, and
that's not so simple.
complicated, yeah.
So Anne Marie has been trying to get me away from straight kaleidoscopic reflection. So I don't think she wasn't exactly pleased with this one, but I had so much fun making it. And now I can't find the original files.
I was always yelling at Karen that, you know, not to do a kaleidoscope. So she didn't. So here is her not a kaleidoscope. Because I felt like kaleidoscopes are like too easy in a certain way. And I really wanted to push her, and I did, to take it in somewhere else, you know, to take it in a different direction, and other than the, you know, the repetition around a circle in a certain way.
So whoops, get back here. So here are some of the areas that I really like concentrating on. This spot here, this kind of little wave thing. I love the dots. The dots are very special.
And she turned it into kind of a strange bug.
And there's another one I did from the same piece.
We also had fun giving these titles, you know.
These are fantastic.
Thank you. Let's see. Here we have.
Wow.
Here's our original.
Yeah.
So as I say, like I'm saying, in many ways, I'm organizing. I take chaos and I take whatever's out there and I turn them into patterns and symmetries. And like, again, they're puzzles for me. They're different ways to sort of, I don't know, exercise organization, and it's awfully hard to explain. I'm working with Mike, but I just, when the balance and the color and everything works together, it's just like kind of moments, and then that's when I'm done. This one went through a lot of different iterations.
Karen, to move away from pattern and the kaleidoscope. I wanted her to move into painting, and she did. You'll see. This is an original. This is like a piece, and she started making them more painterly, which is, you know, something I was trying to push her to do.
I love that one. I just have to say this. I love that one.
You can say that.
You can say that. Yeah, in this one, the part of what I try to do with pieces like these is untangle the tangling that she's done, or weave them together in a pleasing manner. And this one I decided to flip the pieces and just invert the colors. So where it's blue, it's orange, where it's red, it's green. And then weave them in a way that kept the energy or even intensified it.
I think that one needs to be curated in with one of Marne's pieces.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
There's this like body
Yeah.
anatomy thing happening here. Yeah.
It could be spread legs or a
Yeah.
heart thing. You know, telling stories about what I find in the pieces. I try to stay away from that because I like to let the audience figure out what they're seeing. That I'm always seeing all sorts of things. This one was real problematic for me to work with, and I created a bunch of different things with it. These were the two that were the most successful. It's such kind of it's so dark in the black and white, and the lines are so dense together. So trying to again keep it balanced and not too sinister was sort of, I like my things to be joyful and beautiful, and try to stay away from the kind of the hard.
It doesn't seem
Sinister.
dark though. It seems like sexy and erotic and exotic.
And this one, I don't know. There was another one in there too, and I didn't put that one in here. And this one, to kind of tie everything together, I had her make, oh, let me point with my pointer. This is an extra piece that she threw, that I had her say, I need something, like I need some gestural things to put in there. So that was, I thought that was kind of fun to.
Yeah, we really, you know, would take a piece and she'd do something, and I'd say, well, not all there, and she'd say, well, she'd try again and do something different, totally different, and then I would found that I could send her pieces, little strokes of things that it would then tie together, and it was great to work like that. It was like we were both painting in a way.
And was this one, Anne Marie, from the black and white, was that from your Twister series?
No, this was before. This was more, although I'm always working with that shape a lot, I find. And this was more from the Chalice series, kind of, actually. It's only recently that I've gotten into Twisters, which I've, you know, been posting. It's my summer work. This is,
Yeah. So then Anne Marie sent me this one, which doesn't have the same line feel. It's so dense in the color, and I'm still working on this one.
yeah.
Some of the ways.
Wow.
The one in the upper right here, that was sort of my first one, and that was when we really got into the stop doing kaleidoscopes.
Yeah, I made her stop.
It's got, I don't know, that one feels kind of like a granny quilt wallpaper, I don't know. And then I got into kind of weird modern sci-fi strange stuff, and I still don't know what this one's going to be, if it ever gets finished. We'll see if all of them ever get finished.
Well, I also began to learn what could work for Karen. I didn't understand fully what, you know, in the beginning, what she needed and what she could work with. And so this one, you know, I began to see that she liked a lot of space between lines and shapes. And so this one did not have that. It doesn't have really a lot of space. It's all filled in. So she did something completely different with it.
Yeah, I think I took this and reflected it 3 different ways and put a grid on it, and it was big learning experience. I'm always trying to figure out good ways to digitally weave things together. I have done fabric weaving in my past. My mother had a loom. So the whole, you know, and you remember those little things with the stretchies that you put on the metal thing. I've been weaving since I was a child. So it's always been fun to try to figure out how to do the over and under digitally. And here we have sort of a different take. This was kind of an interesting one that she sent, that really, you know, I wasn't going to be able to treat it the same as normal as I had other ones. So it didn't feel like breaking the piece up into small pieces was going to give me what I wanted to work with. So I kept the piece intact and just played with the rotation and transparency. I got this kind of radio tower thing going. again, we're still just playing around, and I'm working with changing the what are you saying? The dimension. So I'm shrinking or expanding and turning them. I'll get like spiral shapes doing them. So I'll keep repeating the transformation many times and to get these sort of tunnel shapes or spirals. Speaking of spirals, super spiral. Again, trying to figure out the shapes and what I can use out of here and distill it into workable pieces.
I began trying to find other shapes and forms to, you know, see what we could do, you know, to make them, to stretch them a little bit. And so I was always looking for a different kind of form to work with.
So this one here again got a little bit too symmetrical for Anne Marie. So I took another stab at it, try to get something a little more painterly.
That's great.
But there again, on all of these ones, all of the pixels, all of the brush strokes, those are Anne Marie's, and I'm just rearranging things.
Donna's asking if you title them together.
Yes, some of them. I mean,
Yeah. Well,
some
I would,
of them were titled before they came to me, right?
yeah.
Like Violetta and the Thin Blanc and the first ones. Those were pieces in your portfolio.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, we spent a whole evening talking about names.
Yeah.
And Catherine says, have you guys ever considered animation?
Love for Karen to do that.
That would be probably my job, and at the moment this is not, so no. Quick answer, no.
Like 150 hours to more to work on.
In a word, no.
No, but you know, that doesn't mean never. It just means no, not now.
Yeah.
So I thought this one looked kind of like a buggy. And this one, I don't know, this is like a snail in a race or something. Or some sort of ship, or who knows. But full steam ahead. Yeah, I think we're coming towards the end. Here we go, here.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we
What
all
great partnership.
it's been fun. We're on hiatus right now. I'm getting ready for my show at Tag Gallery in November, and so when that's over, I understand that she has a whole folder of work for me to.
I have new drawings to send. Now I'm doing drawings specifically for Karen. You know,
That's exciting. I'm excited about that.
now I kind of have a better idea of what, you know, works for her to work with. But
Have you considered maybe turning some of these into 3D printed objects?
That would be wonderful. I have no idea how to do that.
How would one do that one? Yes.
Well,
animation might be easier.
No, I think that there are so many, there are resources out there with 3D printers that you could work with a professional and turn some of these, like this particular one that we're looking at, Tony Bennett Sings Fly Me to the Moon, looks like it would translate really well into like a 3-dimensional object.
Yeah, I could see like a Calder sculpture, you know?
Yeah,
No,
I really do. I would like to see some of those as pivot points and have them.
No, I think there's something here that is doable.
And what about those people that cut, you know, do laser cutting? So you could get all these laser cut and then assemble them.
Yeah, I have a laser cutter, but the
that's a lot of little tiny pieces.
Yeah.
yeah, it's never, nothing's ever out of the question.
Yeah, I just think you
They're
guys
easy.
might try it on one of the more, one of the more simpler pieces.
Well, they're all Photoshop layers. By the time they get to this point, everything's in Photoshop. So creating the different layers is certainly,
I think it's totally doable.
yeah.
And I
Um,
think too that for artists, Photoshop starts to open doors and windows of, oh, I could do that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I would love to see these as sculpture. I think, like a Brad Howe sculpture.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
Like I was thinking, like Rob Grad's acrylic
oh, right. Yeah.
layered sort of things.
Yeah.
I kept thinking how they would look, since you've already got layers, have those printed on glass
Mhm.
and have some staggered interplay that's going on between those panels.
Oh yeah, that's
So
somewhere in here. These things for the work that I do just on my own. Yeah, those are always things that I've been wanting to try. Just time, resources,
Hmm.
Yeah, that's all it takes. It's money and time.
money,
Yeah.
time. What else am I doing, right?
So I'm going to read a few of the things off the chat here. Let's see. Whoops, I lost it. Here's the chat.
Okay.
This
wow.
work is sensual and bold. I can see this as large-scale public art from Marne. Joy Ray says, stunning. Love these. Gay Summer says, the collaboration is so interesting and beautiful. Donna says, I love these transformations. Jody and Ducat, these are amazing in combination. Oh, I'm sorry, in combining two ways of working in a totally new way. Loved line dance and the floating line. Gina says, you two have a great dialogue together, great energy. Let's see. Fun collaborative dance from Gina. Anne-Marie and Karen, I love how you are pushing the boundaries of the tech collaboration. It's getting to be more risk-taking with patterns and interpretations. Caroline says the colors are beautiful. Jeannie Dunn says starting blue and heart flow are exciting and fresh. Melissa says amazing heart flow. Jody again, I wonder how these would read in 3D layered and staggered glass. That's funny, I was thinking the same thing. Karen's manipulations remind me of Bruce Connor's inkblot drawings. And Catherine says, I appreciate how you challenge each other creatively. Aria says, beautiful, I love this collaboration. I love how you push each other. The work is so interesting with both of your voices showing up in harmony. Jeannie says, lower right of the 6-piece view looks like Wayne Thiebaud somehow. Caroline says, perspective weaving is very interesting. Joy Ray, oh, Isadora Redux, amazing. Jane says, you ladies have done a lot of work together, and that is with an exclamation point. Caroline, they're very beautiful to see, see how you reference the textile prints are put into a repeat for production. Marcia, great collaboration. Betty Ann, wow, Anne-Marie, these new works are amazing. Jeannie says, you playing around is a fertile ground for paintings and printmaking, light boxes, even 3D constructions. Donna says, do you title them together? We asked you earlier that. And then have you considered animation? You answered that question. And then Michelle is saying kinetic sculptures with an exclamation point. I totally agree.
Yeah. It's all
Awesome.
time and money, time and money.
Exactly. Well, that is it for our Kipaipai Happy Hour. Thanks for joining us again on a Friday night. Remember, every Friday we will have this. If you are an artist that's interested in participating, please contact Catherine and let her know. I think are we open for next week?
Yeah, we're open. I'm digging up. I'm trying to get Susan Curlin because she's not participated.
Okay. All right. All right.
And
Thank you. And if you guys want to do it, get a hold of Catherine, and we'll see you next Friday.
Next Friday.
Ciao.
Thanks,
See you, everybody.
everybody. It was
Thank
great.
you, Karen
Thank
and
you.
Lauren and everybody. Thank you, Karen.
Thank
you,
you.
everyone. Lauren and Karen and Anne-Marie. Great night.
Yeah, great presentations, everybody.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Thank you so much.